you think? Okay.
Yes, Prior Lake is very much interested in having us. And my understanding right now is that we have one firm interest, one student that has a firm interest, and that's without any advertising. Obviously, we'd advertise it. I can just speak. My daughter came up the other night. She's like, "We're going to have Nordic skiing." Well, it's something that's being talked about, so kind of fits along with the cross country. So those cross country students might be very interested in it. So,
how much? I'm sorry. How do we advertise for those co-op sports? Because I see we have gymnastics, swim for girls in the fall, and swim for boys in the winter, and we don't have participation right now, as I understand it. So, how do students also find out about those activities?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I assume Mr. Perkle advertises it in some way, or the AD does at some level, but I don't know the answer.
I thought we had dissolved our partnership regarding swimming. Am I dreaming that?
Dive, maybe?
Maybe it was, okay, that might have been it, okay.
Yeah.
I think it was dive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remembered we had one that we dissolved, so, okay. How much, is there like a significant cost to the students in terms of?
Well, they would have to do their own transportation and obviously the equipment, the skis and things like that.
Okay.
I would think there would be a
any
participation.
fees associated with
Activity fee.
that.
Right, obviously,
Sure.
I just wondered how much in terms of the whole picture. Is it a really expensive, I mean, would we be able to,
Well, the initial investment of the cross-country skis is, you know, an investment, but and I don't know off the top of my head what Prior Lakes activities fees are for
Oh, so they pay Prior Lakes oh, okay. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, they would be the
host.
host.
Yep.
Host.
I think that's a really good point, Lauren, about advertising, and I don't know if it's brought up at the fall PAC meeting. I don't recall it being brought up.
It's not.
So
It's not part of the presentation, if I remember correctly. I'm
No, like when they
certain.
list all the activities, I don't think
it's
that
not
there
listed
is.
as something that's there.
Is it part
So-
of the student survey?
So it might be because Claire, my daughter, I didn't tell her that we were bringing Nordic skiing. She just brought it up to me.
Oh.
So somehow she knew about
We
it.
might have somebody in-house that might know the answer to this. Tommy?
Well, I feel like a good way to get students to know is obviously SNAP teachers. SNAP teachers could easily be like, oh, hey, we have certain activities if you're interested. Because I remember last year for lacrosse, we had a certain teacher Ms. Fenstermacher talk about it. And there's also surveys that people send, so to just make sure that people are interested if they want to pursue also. So I think probably just talking to getting kind of a little plan or slideshow to quickly show to the classes during SNAP class, because SNAP class is a long class, so you can't really get out of it. So if students just see it and they'll talk about it and other people will know, it'll kind of just be this widespread thing, so it'd just be easier, I guess.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a proposal on the floor. I will entertain a motion to approve the proposal to add Nordic skiing if it goes through all the hoops.
So move.
Go ahead.
Connie?
Go ahead. I'll second.
Sandy? Okay, further discussion.
I think we need to also somehow relate to Mr. Perkle that we want this promoted if we're going to go through the work.
Yep.
Along with the other ones as well.
Yes.
And just so I'm clear, this is boys and girls, correct? Or is Nordic just
I think it's both.
I think
I would think it's both.
isn't it? So we're not getting into a Title IX issue
Nope.
here by doing
It's
this.
not a Title IX issue.
No, I think
know
it's
I
that.
think
both.
it said it on the application.
Here, let me.
Boys and girls up on the top.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion?
Well, I have a question then. Do they wear their own uniforms or do they wear
Prior Lake.
uniforms? Okay.
Yeah, they do.
I just was trying to figure out the cost of how that was going to work.
And I believe in Mr. Perkle's notes, he said that I believe within 3 years, he's hoping that we would have our own,
Yep.
be able to sustain our own
Oh,
teams.
That'd be cool.
That would
So,
be
which would
great.
be cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, review and act on the MSBA resolutions. We discussed them at our last workshop meeting, and they were in the process of being formally written at that time. And since then, they have been formally written, and actually the MSBA board we had a board meeting Sunday night. We went through all of the resolutions. So turn over to Mr. Helgerson.
We also discussed them at Southwest Metro, our superintendent's meeting, and they were well received. A lot of them had, obviously some common ground with other member schools. So this formalizes the process of strengthening our commitment to these legislative resolutions.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to formally approve the resolutions that were presented.
Motion to approve.
Lauren, is there a second?
Second.
Rob, discussion on any of them?
We did discuss them at our last work session too. Certainly can answer any questions, but they didn't change from that time. We just put them in resolution form.
I think there may be one more coming, right? Is that still in the works?
I did talk to Darren about that.
Okay.
I guess
Okay.
I did have one question about the one about a non-disabled pregnant or parenting teen riding a special ed van or bus. So help me understand that. Explain that a little to me.
Okay, we've got New Beginnings in Chaska,
Right.
part of the Southwest Metro Intermediate District. Those teens are not transported. They have to find their own transportation there. And there's several special ed buses that go literally right past their house. If they do get picked up, say there's 3 kids on the bus, Southwest Metro gets docked 30% of their reimbursement for the busing costs.
Okay.
And for many of the students, transportation is a very big issue. So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that it wouldn't be a special pickup. It was only buses that were already out in their vicinity that would pick them up, correct?
Yeah, obviously every kid can be fit onto some route. There's a way. So it's not just Southwest Metro.
Right, no,
It
no,
could
no.
be our vans, that are also, and we get reimbursement for those special ed transports.
Right.
This just reduces our reimbursement
Sure.
if we pick up non-disabled
Is the
students.
reimbursement from the state or is it partly federal as well? Because that's what I'm wondering if we're running into. I guess when I read this,
It's a state.
it is state. Okay. Okay. That was just my question because I was thinking, well, if it's federal, we really don't have a whole lot of
Right.
Yep, and this,
say in that.
Darren knows his.
I'm sure he does. I
his
am
stuff,
sure he
so
does.
This is a piece that he's argued with the
Okay.
legislature and MDE about.
Okay.
And their argument back is simply that, well, we're just afraid that school districts would continue to abuse this then. And, it's just, you gotta have some level of trust.
Did we not used to transport those students in the day?
We did, but that's
Okay.
back when there was United Way grants and things like that to help pay
Okay.
for it.
And
We
now
don't
those
have
are
any
gone.
funding source, so some district, we could, honestly, we could choose to do our own transportation, but we would pay 100% for those costs. There's no reimbursement.
And at that point, you'd have to weigh out if taking the docking versus what was the
Yeah,
best.
and you could transport them separately, on an own route too,
Yeah.
but you have to weigh those costs as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
we have anyone that, do we have,
Their numbers are up this year. They just reported at our last Southwest Metro meeting, and the number of students that they have, and I don't know where they're from, so I don't
Right.
know if we
Right.
do or not.
I don't know that we have any Jordan students this year, but we
So
obviously
would-
have.
We
had-
have in the
Mhm.
past, okay.
But I know they have a pretty large
Good
group
program.
this year, so,
Mhm.
and it's an excellent program, really good program.
It
so.
is.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Snowplow bids, 8.7.
Well, we advertised for bids, and we received 2. The company that's done our plowing the last 2 years is KO Landscape Services, and the second bid came from Randall Alt. And if you, this was one of the ads. Tim and I did open the bids yesterday and reviewed all the information, did side-by-side comparisons, and the Randall Alt bid was the bid winner. And we did reference checks. They do several other places in the community, Rademacher's being one of them. I believe the post office is another one that they do. So they're a reputable plowing company, and by trade, I believe they,
Well drillers.
He
Yes,
dug,
they're
he
well
dug my
drillers.
well, yep.
So they're, you know, they're guys that know how to plow snow and know how to handle that kind of stuff. So we feel good after those reference checks, and then also Tim and Herb, our resident in the house plower, did a drive-through, a walk-through today of the different properties, and the company feels very confident that they can handle our duties. So recommend that we move forward with Randall Alt as our snowplow bid for 2018-2019. After the year's up, we will review the work that they did, and we do have in the bid documents, we have the option to add additional year if we can agree on terms. So every 2 years we do go out for bids, but we do have the option of rebidding every year depending on the job that's done,
Okay.
and also the terms and conditions that we can agree on. We did do 2 years with Caleb, so we would offer the same opportunity to Randall Alt as well.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Sandy?
Second.
Connie? Okay, discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, superintendent's report.
Tommy, I bet you didn't know snow plowing grades was such a hot topic at school board. All right, so my report includes several attachments. I'll open the report and then reference the attachments. Our October enrollment check-in is something we always look forward to seeing how the year starts off. Our numbers are still strong. In fact, we're up a little bit from our last count. So we are sitting at 1,885 students, which is 32 more than our what if budget module, as you can see by the budget attachment. And it's 61 students more when compared with where we ended last school year in June. And of course, that does not include our tuition kids, the students that don't go to school here, but we do receive tuition reimbursement for. If we do include those, that is a budget number of 13. Our enrollment stands just at a shade under 1,900 at 1,898. So if you look at that enrollment document that's attached in the summary of the financials, you'll see that it results in approximately $212,000 in additional revenue compared to our what if budget number. Now, of course, we've added some programs or added some staffing. So along the way, we've talked about how this excess budget number will pay for that. And in our October work session, we'll go through those financial documents and show you where that fits with our budget module. Any questions about enrollment? Okay, next is the Local Government Innovation Awards application. Deb has encouraged me to apply the last several years, and we finally did. And I'd like to just really thank Erin Yomland. She absolutely stepped up and knocked it out of the park. I asked for our summit teachers and Jeff Visner to help us with the application, and Erin really just stepped up and did a great job, as an English teacher would do. Did a nice job with the narrative and application. So hopefully you had a chance to take a look at that, and we can review that here in a second. But basically what we did apply for in the Local Government Innovation Awards submission was our Summit Academy program. And if you look at that, the data in there and the number of people that we've impacted with the program, not just our students, but the businesses and the mentors and the mentor teachers. I think that really shows a community connection and a good use of taxpayer dollars. And you know, one thing that's come out of this is we've had some partner conversations with other entities, Scott Equipment. Last week I met with Tim Bezick and Mid-County Fabricating, and one of the owners from Mid-County. We now are having our shop teachers go out to Mid-County, and they're going to do some discussions about doing some articulation agreements and some certifications for welding. So there's a lot of different spin-offs that are happening as a result of this. And I think the goal is to do some career pathway work, obviously, is to continue that. But Jeff Visner was here earlier this year and mentioned how the CAPS program was so interested in what we were doing as one of the smaller schools that now is in their network. And I think it's just it's a tribute to obviously the traction and the progress that we're making in terms of career pathway work. So excited about that, and hopefully we win, because it would be a $5,000 award for, and I told Erin that if she wins it, it would go right into the summit program. So
Great. Great.
Yeah. Legislative resolutions, we don't need to beat that to death, but we attach that for your approval tonight. Darren Kermis, I'd again like to thank Darren for his partnership with me in authoring those and then sharing them with the Southwest Metro Superintendent's Group. I'm proud of the work that we're doing as a district, and I think it's always nice to be on the forefront of the legislative front, and I think we're pretty well recognized as a leading district in the legislature.
I just have a few comments. As we went through all of the resolutions from across the whole state of Minnesota, Jordan had the most, so they were very proud of Jordan and commented several times. And Sandy knows the process, but what happens is the resolutions go to the MSBA board, and the MSBA board reviews each resolution, and the GR, the government relations team, makes a recommendation to either, as MSBA, to either support a resolution or to be opposed to a resolution if it's something that they don't feel is an appropriate resolution, or some of the resolutions are reaffirmations of current pink sheet policies that are already resolutions.
Yep.
A couple of ours were reaffirmations. Several of them moved on for full support, with their full support. A couple of them, they're doing more study on like the pregnant teen one.
Yep.
They just need to do more research and stuff.
Yep.
Also the JAF one, they're doing because they're, you know, Kirk Schneiderwin said we need to get the definition of what a ward of the state is and find out, you know, how this works nationally and everything. So they're doing some more research on those, but they'll be coming back to the board the first weekend in November for final approval. So.
Well, and if they are isolated things like the JAF thing and the teen moms, then we have more leverage to say we need support. So I think the only way we could do it is to get the word out that we want support on these programs because they're important to our district.
Yep. And I brought that one in particular up, where the reimbursement or the district, our Jordan School District being on the hook for the student that became a ward of the state while at the JAF, who was a resident of another district, but then now is in a different state. I brought that up to both Eric Pratt and Tony Albright at I think it was at one of our commercial club meetings. So it's on their radar already, at least they've heard it once. So it's always good just to keep plugging away.
Yes, absolutely. Quick question on delegate assembly. Do we have enough people?
Lisa Anderson is the director for our district.
Yeah.
It's her job.
Oh, okay, never mind.
She has 2 spots to fill.
She does, okay.
Yeah, so if
So I just
anybody
wanted to-
is interested,
Okay.
I can pass your name on to
Yep.
Lisa. So, yeah, we do have 2 openings because
Right.
Lisa stepped in. Lisa was a delegate,
Right.
and then when I stepped up,
Then you
so,
are no longer.
yeah, and so and then Mary Romansky's position
Right.
was open. Yes, so if anybody is interested, let me know and I can pass it on to Lisa. So.
This next item, the Schools for Equity in Education, which we're a member of, C is the most common acronym, did a report on the erosion of the basic funding formula. I know it's really exciting stuff, but it highlights, I think, one of the items that we put in our legislative resolutions with the inequity in funding. It's a significant challenge for us in our community because we're so property poor, meaning low commercial tax base. So the burden falls on our homeowners. And we're not the only ones, obviously. I think I shared with you, I sat in on a conference call with the Office of the Legislative Auditor and with other property poor districts. And we're good, strong districts together. It just makes it that much more difficult to go after additional needed funds, whether it be operating or building funds, because our tax impacts are so high. So this is just another report that illustrates that issue. This sheds it in a different light or puts a different spin on it. As we've talked about the inequities in school funding for several years at this table, districts with high property wealth, due to more commercial industrial property, really have little trouble. And you can see this in this report. Some of the schools in the metro area that have high property wealth, they're in the plus side of things, and we aren't. And so we know that it makes it a more difficult task to pass a local operating levy, and we've already talked about at this table where we stand in that bottom 1/3 in terms of all the state in terms of operating levy authority. So, and we know why that is. It's again due to our low commercial industrial property. So, as you see in our legislative resolutions, we are trying to address that with the legislature. We highlighted it with the Office of the Legislative Auditor, and now C is also focusing on this as a legislative priority, and they have for several years. I think it's not just limited to debt equity. It's the entire funding formula needs to be reevaluated. It's a broken system. I think it's such a task, though. It's such a momentous or monumental task that it's very intimidating. So you're going to note that on the report, Jordan is 257th out of 328. Again, according to how they've structured the report, meaning we've seen an erosion in the education funding to the tune of a negative $1,412.
And that's per student?
Yes.
And I don't understand. I mean, I look at this and like Milroy, which is not in the metro area, it is way west, and
Yep.
it's a little tiny district. I've been there, and
Yeah.
I'm like, how do they have a 3954 operating referendum?
Yeah.
Do they have a lot of I mean, I don't know. It's just.
They probably have really old buildings. I'm just guessing here.
Okay,
They probably have
and I think
super
they
old
do,
buildings that
yeah.
are paid for, so they have no
Debt.
no bonded debt, and
Okay.
they can pitch that and pass that to try to keep their small district afloat. And
Okay.
in smaller districts, it does take a ton of money to keep a district functioning because
Yeah.
you're operating so inefficiently.
Right.
I mean, you're singletons in
Yep.
sections, so oftentimes you have conflict. So in order to try to avoid conflict, you often operate with 10, 12 kids in a class,
Yep.
which is very inefficient. So that's my guess. I can't
Okay.
speak fully to it.
Because I just
but
looked at that
that's
and I
my
was like,
guess.
holy cow, 3,954. That's huge. And then we are so much, I mean, that's a $5,300 difference between us and Milroy. I mean, that's
Yeah,
per
so
student.
it takes that, obviously that erosion of the funding. It takes special education cross subsidies, which we're not sitting too bad on compared to
Yep.
some other districts. But really, when you look at what our operating levy authority is, that's what's so low. So when you combine those two pieces, that's why we're sitting where we are, and that's compared with the average, obviously. But it's something that we need to be aware of, and I think we need to continue to educate our community as we potentially progress towards an operating levy someday.
Someday.
So our next item, or my next item, is the Minnesota School Safety Grants. Fortunately, I have bad news on this. We did apply, as you know, as well as many other school districts did. We did not receive funding. And literally, and I know this to be true, they basically took all the applications, so we had three different sites. So if Anoka Hennepin received a grant, obviously, how many schools do they have? Many. They have many schools, so they have multiple pieces of paper that went into a hat, literally, and they drew. And that's my understanding, and there was a proportion that went out of the metro.
Seriously?
Seriously.
I thought, my understanding was that what I was told at the summer seminar was that I think that they took any application that had a single entry issue, those were taken out, and basically the rest were not. I could be wrong, but that's what I had heard.
Who were the decision makers with this?
The Department of Ed.
Yeah. Their priority was the single entry.
And they seriously
Security
picked
entrance.
names out of a hat?
That's my understanding,
They
is
should
it
be
was a
ashamed.
random draw.
They should be ashamed of themselves.
And when you look at some of the numbers that some of those districts got,
I
mean,
know. Oh,
I
I
have a
saw
neighbor.
I hope that that's not the case.
That's what I'm told. It was a random draw.
As taxpayers, community members should know that.
Well, and it certainly didn't go by
Need based?
disparity issues. I mean, if you were a
Look who
very
got
wealthy district,
Yes.
Well, and I mean, and it's
you got it.
Elk
but
River
it-
got $1 million. They gave out
I thought it was
25
only-
million
so they did a lottery. I mean,
thought
it was
only supposed to
basically
be
it was
like
a lottery system.
250,000 each.
Mm-mm.
per site.
Per site. Per
So
site.
it's not the merit of the application, but
Oh,
how lucky
wow.
you are from the lottery draw.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good for Elk River.
You know what they should have done is they should have divvied that 25 million up between all the districts, or put it on the.
Yeah, I
formula.
think
Yes.
Well,
the
they've
fair
given
way
us
to
seed
the fair way
money
to do
to-
it would be to put it on the just add that to the LTFM
Right.
and disperse
Right.
it equally.
Mhm.
But they didn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nothing that we can control,
Wow.
but it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
and good for us for,
There was a
putting in the
number of
application.
very upset people.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Well,
Yeah.
they should be.
Yep. So it's unfortunate. I will report this though, to our community. I believe we are we have really good safety procedures. We have emergency action plan that has led the charge. I believe that to be the case. We work with Homeland Security. We are doing those. We do tabletop work, and Tommy can speak to that. Probably you've done it in your classes where you've talked about the scenarios. The scanner, the driver's license scanner that we have here at the middle school, we've ordered 2 more. That'll be under the Safe Schools fund, and we likely will go in the red, which you're allowed to do, but then we'll make up for it next year. But we did go ahead and place the order, so eventually all of our buildings will have the same scanning system. And Connie, you have something similar in Shakopee, and it's just another layer. And so we are committed to that. And I also report that nobody knows this yet, but I was asked to present at the MSBA National, or the NSBA National Conference on
Oh,
safety and
wow.
security.
Hey,
Good.
congrats.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So
In March?
yep.
Yay,
So
good.
I'm going to speak with a law firm and DLR Group on safety of schools.
Great.
Wow.
Perfect.
That's
Yeah, that's
awesome.
great.
Good.
So that's my report. Of course, I have some attachments there. I can pull anything up if you're interested in taking a look. Hopefully you had a chance.
Any questions?
I was just questioning how many open enrollments were as part of the enrollment that added up to us. Are they?
Amy, do you know your open enrollment number? There you go,
How much?
193.
Just like that, off the top of her
Wow.
head. Thanks, Amy.
Before,
Hope you probably knew
could I,
that too.
could I ask, could I
Do I
say
know
something
else
before
too?
she leaves?
Sure.
What was it, Amy? It was higher. 260 or something like that.
Connie?
Before Amy leaves, I have had the opportunity to be working in their office as the treasurer, and I know they had auditors last week, and I just need to say that that office is so professional. Nikki and Amy are a joy to work with. Documentation is spot on, and Their files are impeccable, and I just wanted to do a shout out that they are doing an awesome job, and it's a privilege to work with them.
Thank you, Connie. Much
welcome.
deserved. Okay, high school principals report. Comments or questions for Jeff? Other than kudos to Jeff for running the marathon?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. Okay, middle school principals report. Made it through homecoming.
I noticed they changed the route. How was that? Was that a success? Like, how much time did it shave off the parade, or was it the same length?
I think it was longer.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
It was because, I don't know, the cop car was like moving a bit slow, which slowed down the band a bit, so I had to tell Visner, hey, someone speed it up.
It's better for us as a school district to keep
Yeah.
it up here on campus, so.
No, that makes complete sense. Did we have a lot of people come travel up from, because
There were,
it used to
yeah.
be at the start, at the fire station, and then it would come up, so
I
a
felt
lot
like
of
there was a
people.
lot of community
Usually
people.
I come, and this year I couldn't
Yeah.
attend, so.
There was a lot of people all along
Yeah,
the
there really
route.
were. I
Oh,
thought so
good.
too.
Yeah, even on Cedar Lane, you know,
Yeah.
where they went, there was.
Yep.
And we work with St. John's, and they had their kids, they bus their kids up, so, yeah. We contacted Shule House and,
Mhm.
Oak Terrace and all the
Yeah,
different.
Oak Terrace was sitting out
Yeah,
there.
they were.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that is really
That's
nice
really
for them
nice.
to,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
How was the dance? Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, I stayed for like an hour and left. Yeah, it was nice.
It was fun while I was there. I enjoyed it. Put that little, we had like masks and stuff like that.
There's a mess.
There was. You could get the picture taken in the photo booth.
Oh, yeah, I saw some of those, yeah.
I never do that. I don't know, I always walk past it. I always tell myself I would go and do it, but I always forget. And do it at night.
Okay, elementary principals report. Activity directors. Carol's Director of Teaching and Learning, we have a meeting next Monday, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Communications, kudos to Kat. We got some nice press on the new mascot. That was pretty cool. Did you all get to see it on
Yes.
TV?
Mhm.
Yeah, Caroline.
On
did
TV?
it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Prep Spotlight too.
Yeah. That was cool. So very nice job on that. I think it was pretty well received. I only heard positive comments about it, so that was good.
I expect all the boys to be growing those mustaches, like the.
The Movember?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do not
like-
give my son any ideas, please.
I
Oh,
expect
my
all the
gosh.
boys to be growing big Hubman mustaches.
I already can't get him to shave his beard. Don't even.
And there's more to the mascot. It just hasn't come in yet.
Coming, yeah.
Suspenders, maroon and
Oh,
gold
good. I was
suspenders and things
wondering.
like that.
Okay, because I thought we were doing the suspenders
Yeah.
thing. So,
Yeah,
okay.
they
all
haven't come
right.
in yet.
Okay.
Fun. Okay, nutritional services report. We all got an email from Andrea inviting us to help with school nutrition week next week. So if you haven't responded to her and want to help serve lunch, it's really a fun thing to do. And I believe is it this Friday they're having, or is it the Friday of MEA, they're having some class or something there.
It's MEA.
Yeah, I think
MEA
it's
Friday,
MEA.
yeah.
Mhm.
Indian Head.
Yep.
Okay.
I know she's working on doing, did she have this in here, another taste test with some coffee products and stuff like that to try to get some different things in for the coffee bar and things like that in the morning too.
Okay.
A coffee bar at like the school?
Yeah, there's one now. Did you not know that?
I don't drink coffee.
Oh, you
I'm
should.
with you. I don't either.
either.
You should. It's amazing.
It's you would
amazing.
love it.
The best things that you could ever do. Maybe wait until you're like midway through college. But then it's awesome.
I never did it. I have not acquired
I
the
love
taste yet.
coffee.
I
Oh, you
can't
haven't?
even stand the smell.
Oh my God, it's like one of the
The
best
day
things
in
in
the
the world.
morning is not complete until. That's right.
I never have a complete morning.
Okay, anything else on that? Otherwise, Chad's special services report.
Our APAC meeting did get
I was just gonna
postponed
say it
today
got postponed. Yeah.
to the 22nd. So it did
Yes.
not get held today.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, just highlighting the October 22nd, there's an event at New Prague that we are co-hosting. It's with our chemical dependency counselor. It's called the Top Secret Event. It's really geared toward, it's for parents
I would really like to go to that.
and what it is they have a room set up, like a bedroom set up of a teen, and it gives parents ideas or tips on what to look for and things like that in terms of drug paraphernalia and that type of thing. So
If we will have a quorum without me, I would like to go and then I can report back on it to the board. Because I just feel like that would be, I feel like that's fascinating. And I saw the email and I was like, I want to go, but it's a board meeting night. So, but I would be happy to report back on it to the board to how it went. But I just feel like that's a really important event to go to.
then Tuesday the 30th is Chad's first special ed parent advisory council meeting. So
Okay. Technology, Stephen's report.
I'll just highlight here and just for the community, and this is another thing that we need to continue to try to get the word out. It's one of those delicate balances because we want to make sure it goes to the families that really need it, but we did purchase 20 mobile hotspots from T-Mobile. Actually, we didn't purchase them because they're free, but we have to pay a monthly subscription for them, and we felt that was worth it. You know, it's several $1,000s, but we felt that was worth it in terms of our access, especially during those winter months when we have those go remote days for weather related. So basically it's a first come, first serve at this point. There's qualifications for it, free and reduced lunch qualifications to get the access points, and basically after they've met the families met the qualifications, we'll give those access points out, and we'll make sure that those students get that. So our principals were doing some work too, more of a survey type work of trying to see if we could find out which families were in need of those, and then we can reach out to them. So
Good.
It's obviously a 512 initiative because that's where our focus is.
Do we have any kind of a guesstimate as to how many of our students' homes don't have internet?
That's what we're trying to find out.
To find out, okay.
Is there an option to try to find hotspot solutions in kind of more public places that kids could go kind of as well as kind of not necessarily an either or, but just kind of as another?
We've talked about trying to do some of that stuff. I will say this without going into specifics because I just don't want to do that at this
it's preliminary.
time.
Yeah.
It's been met with some resistance from some of the property owners.
Okay.
Their concerns centered around that, not from us as a district, but from
I understand what you're
the
saying.
property ownership. Yeah. So we felt like this might be a way. We're just pilot it this year, and if it works, it works, and we'll continue. If it doesn't, we're only out, I think, $3,000 or $4,000 total. And it's something that we as an admin team discussed. In lieu of holiday Christmas gifts, we're going to do a donation to the district, for example, to help cover the costs. So it's something that we would certainly accept donations for to help pay for this type of programming access.
No, that's a great idea.
Good. Okay. On to board and committee reports. Scale.
We have Scale Friday. We did have a Scale meeting. Tom and I are the reps, so I can speak to that, I guess. Our last meeting was about housing, accessible housing, and there were several representatives from Edina and also from Minneapolis, and also from the Minnesota Workforce or Minnesota Housing Authority, or something to that effect, is talking about affordable housing in communities, and that was really the focus of the meeting. It was hosted by the Jordan City Council, but unfortunately there was a death. One of the council members' relatives, so that they couldn't be there, but usually the host gives an update, but there was no update from the Jordan perspective. So it was truly just about the housing piece. So that's what it was. And Friday's another scale meeting, and I'll report back
Okay.
after that.
Okay. Foundation, Connie, you were there.
That is a go-getter team. They did a bank proposal. They put bids out to the 3 banks in Jordan, and they did bids, and they had sealed bids, and the whole process, how they did it, was just amazing. They gave the bid to Riverland Bank, is the bank that will house the money for right now. It's subject to change at some time. They did a lot of research on investments and how that would all work. Had that all approved? The finance director chair will be Chris, and I believe she's the investment person from Franzen
Yep.
Bank, and very knowledgeable lady. They talked about opening their checking account. There's a little bit. They're waiting for some tax ID, and after that point, everything else will just fall into place. They voted on how much the starting check would be, what to do with the remainder of the money, how to get the remainder of the money, and I've already talked with Matt, and that's already been changed over. They have one part left on their 501c3 application. Mandy is finishing that, and then they're having Robbie Whips look it over and for approval before that gets sent in. They identified their executive committee, which will be finance, fundraising, grants, scholarship, marketing, and social media. They are moving forward on the art and the logo and how that will all come to place. They were working on, someone is a grant writer, and they talked about starting the process of looking at grants and moving forward on that. They wanted a list of all the original people that attended the first meeting, and I requested that from Matt, and he was going to send that to Mike, and they requested how to go about to get that check so they could make their first deposit. The next meeting will be the 3rd Tuesday, October 16th at 6:30. Are you able to go to that one?
I think so.
Okay, otherwise we can talk about it, okay?
Yeah.
And I have shared the list, the original list, and also they have received a check. They picked it up, and it's been
Okay.
deposited in their
So,
account.
they're just an amazing group of people, and I think wonderful things will happen because they're all very invested and very detail oriented. So it's a good committee.
Connie, just a quick question on that, because I wasn't able to be there at that meeting. We were both at Southwest Metro that evening. But did they do any work as it relates to developing criteria for the grants, the mini grants?
They identified who some of the key people were that they would invite possibly to be part of the grant committee. They identified that it could not be anything that's directly related to a curriculum because they wanted it to be something extra. I'm not sure that they've gotten into that part yet. I think that the grant, how it will kind of shake out is that once they identify these executive groups, there will be a chairman, and then that chairman will pull together their executive. The only thing that I know is they were really going to look closely at Matamidi and New Prague's, and I'm sorry, but they talked about contacting New Prague, and I was concerned that they would get charged for that. So I was concerned about that, and I said my opinion on it, that if you're asking for criteria on something specific, I think you could find it from a community that wouldn't charge you. And that's my personal opinion. And, but I think once they've identified who the executive things, and if I'm not mistaken, Tina might be the person that, but also I know that, Shar Sensky and, Larry's very cautious about, identifying how much the starting amount would be it that we're gonna give our first grant, or our first amount given out, maybe $1,000, and
Yeah.
that we would give five scholarships, and identify that each building would get at least one, and, so Larry's got his thumb on it pretty close on
Yeah.
how the spending would happen.
The one thing that you said that I just raised my eyebrows a little bit is that it can't be connected to the curriculum.
No,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be part of a curriculum. It would be something like, so you could get books, but we wouldn't buy books for a curriculum that is already in exist. We wouldn't like buy 10 more books for that. That would be something separate,
But
is the
could
way
it-
I understood
To support
it.
a curriculum, like to support, say this, one of the summit program things with,
Like, let's just say it's purchasing some robotics level kits. Would that be something that?
I think that's different. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's,
would
I
agree.
think it's something like, if there's, I think it, the way I was reading into it, we wouldn't buy 5 more math books.
Oh.
5 more math books
Got
is
it.
part of our district's
Well, I agree with that
responsibility.
100%.
Is that
I
how,
didn't-
that's how I read, that's how I understood
Yeah,
it.
I agree with that 100%. I think, I just want to make sure that, because we don't want to do things that are disjointed. We
Right,
wanna do
right.
things that
No,
are
it wouldn't
enhanced.
be, we're not gonna pay for something that would be what they thought was the school's responsibility, the district's responsibility, is how I read into
Sure.
how they were saying it.
That would be
Okay.
a normal district expense.
Yes, yes, yes,
that
we're,
makes sense.
if
Like a
we,
comparable would be, we as a school district purchase uniforms for our athletic teams.
right,
That's not something we would expect our athletic booster club
to pay
to
for,
pay for.
Right,
right.
right.
Okay.
And so they called it curriculum, and maybe I or I misrepresented how
No,
I said it.
that makes sense. I'm
Okay.
glad I asked.
Yep,
okay, long-range facility planning?
Connie and Deb, do you guys want to speak to that?
who for Deb?
We met last Wednesday night, I believe. Chris Gibbs was out. He presented some very interesting potential diagrams, and we had some breakout sessions and talked about what we liked about them, did a lot of brainstorming. I thought it was a productive meeting. I think that we were maybe a little more hopeful that we would come away with a concrete, this is what we want to present to the board and go forward with,
Not
but I
there
think that, no, I think there was so many ideas thrown out that we feel that there's more work to do. Is that fair? Fair statement?
That's fair, and I think there were some follow-up pieces. One thing, there were 2 things that were brought up. The land purchase that we made several years ago and the adjacent land, just directly to the south. There was some interest in potential further exploration of that piece with in conjunction with a developer.
Mhm.
So I've done some follow-up work on that with a realtor. And the second thing that came up was, how confident were we in the demographer study that was done last year? Being that some new developments have taken place, and those weren't on the radar when that demographer study was
I thought
done.
they kind of were.
No,
They weren't?
they weren't.
So,
And it was strictly baseline.
yeah.
Right.
So there wasn't any sensitivity of what ifs that would be included in that.
Okay.
So Amy and I reached out on Thursday last week after the meeting to Hazel Reinhardt and said that we would provide her updated enrollment numbers. Obviously,
Right.
it's a good gauge compared to what she had predicted, to look at actuals. And also, she was going to reach out back to the city and
She
get
hadn't got
more
that
of that
information.
information about the developments and redo that piece of it. Not the entire study, but just redo that
Right.
piece of it. So there will be a small little cost associated with that, but that was really important feedback, was that, we really need to combine this plan with that study
Yeah.
as we look at, because they go hand in hand as we plan for the future. So I think my thought is to have another long-range facility planning group meeting, do some additional work and fine-tuning, and then bring it to the board. Because I just think there needs to be one more meeting at least to talk through some of those things that were brought up.
I think that that's another group of people that are really excited and involved in our community and our growth. And one thing that I thought that came away, and I know that it's come up, but the access, the road access for that property, and that came up numerous times, but that's a group that's on fire, and they're excited about growth of our community, and makes you energized when you leave one of those meetings.
And obviously, we'd have to work with both the city and the state as it relates to that road access. So that's something that will take some research. I think we have to keep in mind that this is a plan, a long-range plan. There's no specific timeline to it. It can happen. It could happen very quickly. It could happen slower than we think. You know, and it's all driven by enrollment. Obviously, enrollment in our district is fairly steady growth, but I would also classify this year as sort of volatile. I mean, we certainly didn't predict. I mean, somebody might say from the outside, well, it's only 33 more kids compared to what you predicted. Well, it's 70 more than what we were last year, and that's pretty significant for a district our size. But it's not just the numbers. Chad reported last time at our special education enrollment, for example, that students on IEPs, and we were plus 41 compared to last year. So I think there's those considerations, and also the need. I think that points directly to the need for early learning services and all day, every day pre-K. I know the governor's been pushing that the last couple of years. I know several families want to have that. We don't have the space to have that, so part of it is a space issue too. So there's a lot of things we're going to have to balance. We've talked about inequity in funding and operating referendums, and you know, obviously, if we continue to grow like we did this year, a building will be something that's on our radar sooner than later. So,
I think there's two things if we were to redo a study, in factoring on data that we've kind of seen. Number one is, I think, in terms of kind of some of the housing development pieces, those are that's a real development that may not have been necessarily factored in. I think the other more important piece too, which I think is a credit to this district, and the word is starting to get out a little bit more, that we do have something that's fairly unique and special, and then when you balance that relative to some of the dynamics that are going on in some surrounding districts, and because we do have open enrollment, we are starting to see more kids filtering in from neighboring communities, and that's something that's important and for us to be able to build upon, but we also need to make sure that we're planning accordingly so that we can kind of accommodate kind of those needs and kind of continue to kind of take kind of our district to kind of where we kind of want it to be. But those don't happen in just kind of your standard baseline population kind of projection kind of assessments, and that's where kind of those scenarios really need to start to come into play in terms of kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of what kind of market share do we have or immigration do we expect to ultimately get to those actual numbers that we've got to make sure that we're ready for.
Yeah, I think, you know, to go along with that and talk about open enrollment, that's where our biggest growth has been in terms of where we predicted to where we are. Here's the thing about that, is that's excellent in terms of our aid, but in terms of, if you look at our levy, you know, our levy was basically flat, slight increase, okay? That tells a lot. That tells you volumes. It tells you that we aren't seeing home growth. We aren't seeing business growth. So our market, our taxable market value is not increasing. We're getting more kids, but they're through open enrollment. They aren't necessarily taxpayers, is what I'm trying to say. So that's a real interesting concept and dynamic, and sharing that with property taxpayers, you know what I mean, who are paying for open enrolled kids. to a certain degree.
Right.
So when we talk about our preschool being full and not having space for next year, does that mean that we can't offer anything more or more classes, or is Jenna
We're
still?
pretty limited.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are on a waiting list. You look at our kids company, and we could probably have 250 kids, housed in kids company, but there are families that are on a waiting list for that too. So one of the components of a new building would be a very large early learning services piece, because as Rob has said in several meetings, it's our gateway. It's our gateway into our district, and we have to make sure we're putting our best foot forward.
A wait list doesn't do anything for families, and that's, if we could provide, and I don't know what creative juices, but.
I mean, I think there's possibilities, like you can choose the lease levy space. We would just have to find where that is. We had a conversation, for example, with St. John's several years ago about their empty space and using some lease levy authority. It's undeveloped, so we would literally have, at the time, the proposal was we as a school district would have to pay for the development of that space, and then on top of that, pay a lease.
Right.
So if we could find storefront that we could have some of that, this is as an idea, as an example.
I think Chris mentioned that the other night, but I don't know where that is.
Right.
Right, but that's certainly one avenue. But yeah, we're pretty landlocked in terms of what we have for classroom space. We're about 650 elementary kids, and that's a pretty full building.
Okay, anything else in that? Okay, just a reminder that January 17 and 18 is the MSBA Leadership Conference, and that's downtown Minneapolis. I think it's at the Hyatt this year, I'm not sure, but I think it's at the convention center, but headquarters.
The rooms.
So the rooms, it's not too soon to let Hope know if you.
They fill up really fast.
They
I
do.
want one room.
I want one.
So 3 for sure.
Rob, you want a room?
Typically what we do, Rob,
You
is.
can cancel before.
Because we want to all be at the same hotel. That's
Okay.
more fun that way.
Yeah.
Typically what we do, Rob, is the all-day Thursday it starts like at 9, I believe, with opening ceremonies and then main speaker and then all the breakout workshops, and then typically our board goes out to dinner that evening.
Oh,
And the board stays over, and then the convention continues on Friday and ends at noonish.
And we have submitted, you saw this in a previous update that I've given, we submitted to present as a school district again. And if we do get that opportunity, the presenters from our district would be invited to come to dinner with us as well.
Oh, definitely. They did that the last time.
Yep.
Yep.
So Deb, your room's taken care of?
Yes, I'm taken
Yeah.
care of.
You'll need to do one for me.
And then if you could check with Jesse and Tom. And then one other reminder that's not on here is November 5th is our first meet and greet at the elementary school at 7:15. So put that on your radar. Okay. Board and superintendent comments. Anything?
Very pleased to announce that our tennis team is going to the state tournament for the first time
That's great.
in history. There's 20-year history. They're section champions, undefeated. Had the opportunity to see several matches this year, but also go down to the section championship yesterday. It was pretty exciting. A lot of emotions, a lot of invested hard work by the kids and the families to build the program, and I'd like to commend their coaching staff.
Yeah.
We've got 2 excellent coaches, and it's fun to see the girls flourish under them. I'd like to commend our student body. I know there was a little bit of TPing that went along, but you know, I think homecoming week behavior was excellent overall, and
That's good.
shows the maturity of our student body. You know, I think things are starting to settle into a school year. You know, you always hit that stride, and we had a few little bumps to begin the year with our campus and traffic and that type of thing, but I think things are starting to settle in. It would just stop raining.
Yeah, no kidding.
But, you know, very proud of our student body and the leadership that they show, and Tommy stepping up to be a part of this and wanting to be a part of our group, and the DLC kids presenting tonight, and just, gosh, doesn't that give you goosebumps on how
It does.
professional?
Yeah. Yeah.
These are middle school kids, and you know, this professionalism that they exhibited, and the desire and the passion that they have for making our school strong. So it's been a good start, and yeah, looking forward to more success, both academically and athletically, and in the arts for the rest of the year.
Rob, I'm gonna start with you. You have the floor.
For comments,
Yep.
hope that I don't get pneumonia after
No
today's
kidding.
cross-country tournament. No, I think in terms of kind of the athletics and the activities for this fall, I think all of at least all of the events that I've participated in, it's great to not only kind of see the competition, but just the camaraderie. And I've been kind of especially taken by kind of just the environment and the atmosphere at some of these cross-country meets. This is really kind of the first year that I've really kind of delved in and seen some of these, and it's not only kind of this camaraderie with kind of the team, but with all of the teams, and creating a really just nice kind of environment that is still competitive and still kind of has those dynamics that you're kind of looking for, but everyone's so supportive of each other. And I think that with Coach Nylander and our teams, both boys and girls, I mean, we're kind of really setting we're setting the stage and really being kind of a good contributing kind of part of kind of building and advocating kind of for that type of atmosphere and environment. So very proud and just happy to kind of see that's going on kind of within some of our teams here in Jordan.
That's a tough act to follow. I don't have any comments though.
I was also soaking wet Friday night at the football game, but I had
too.
I had a couple of the Wasika fans were over my right shoulder, and they were quite impressed with our band, and the band was freezing, you know, whatever, and they did really well. And I heard one of our fans, they were complimenting us, and one of our fans said, well, our band is so big they don't fit in the band room anymore, and went on, and this man proceeded to say, when our band performed at homecoming the other night, he said it was comparable to college quality. And I wish that the kids could hear that, because that's a really big compliment, you know, whatever. And not only that, but that little group of a dance team that gets out there every week and dances in the middle of the stadium, I applaud them, because that's pretty awesome, you know, whatever. So I've enjoyed watching the volleyball players, and told my story the other night met some people at a volleyball game who were visiting from out of town and happened to come upon the campus, and just were amazed at the way our upkeep and everything is in our community. And were very, very, very kind words about our campus and our community, and just went to the volleyball game because they saw cars there. And I thought that was just, that's who we are. That's who we are. That's what we do. You look at your calendar and see what's going on in the community, and it leads you to the school and to the kids. And I think that's a pretty cool who we are and what we do. So that's who I am and what I've done.
Okay.
Speaking of calendars, please put on your calendar that November 15th through the 18th is James and the Giant Peach, the musical.
the play. Yeah.
So that will be coming up. They've been working really, really hard, so that will be something to come up with. Also, I am not able to attend the curriculum committee next week.
Okay.
So is anybody, who's the alternate?
Were
You're-
you curriculum, Rob? Rob?
I don't know if
I
I'm
feel like-
curriculum.
I got it.
Here, it's right here.
Yeah, I think you were. You were at that long afternoon meeting we had a couple.
Is that,
That was
is that
policy.
policy? I think that was
Oh,
policy.
that was policy. That's right. Never mind.
Lauren.
Deb,
Me.
Sandy,
Winner.
What day?
Connie.
Monday.
You need to change the student representative on
Yep.
that.
Yeah,
Write it
we'll have
down.
to change.
Yep.
Okay, what day is the curriculum meeting?
It's
Monday.
Monday at 6.
Here.
Yep.
Monday, October 15th?
Connie, where's the other meeting?
Yes.
In the Einstein lab.
Okay, you're on curriculum too, Connie? I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is.
So the two of us will have to split up.
Oh, is it the same night?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me, whichever.
Well, we can go to curriculum, for the first half hour, and then we'll figure that out.
Okay.
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 And then for APAC, it's been rescheduled, and I had booked this as off, but I'm not off on the 22nd, and I don't think there's an alternate, so.
I think I am.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's gonna be the actual meeting, or if that was Chad actually just putting that out there, seeing if people could go.
It's
It
added
is a
to the
set
calendar.
meeting? Okay.
Yep.
What time?
It is, I don't know, 12:30 to 1 to 2, I think.
Let me look here.
It's the middle of the day,
Yeah.
so it's really hard, if they cancel, it's really hard for me to,
Sure.
12:30.
yeah, that's what
It'll go till 2.
it will, yep.
Okay.
So I apologize, I feel like I usually am really good about attending meetings, but in that one, I had, like I said, I had this booked off, blocked
Mhm.
off, and then when it's rescheduled, just for a week and a half later, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Is curriculum in the middle school building, or is it?
It's in
It's
here.
here.
Oh, it's in this?
Yep.
Gotcha.
The foundation meeting isn't Monday night though.
I thought you said it was.
Third Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
I thought you said the 16th, right?
I did say the 16th, but I have third Tuesday.
Oh, that would be the 16th.
No, that's Wednesday.
Oh, November.
I'm in October.
That's
Well, the third Tuesday is the 16th.
Is it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2nd, 9th, 16th.
Can you do that? Connie?
3. Yep.
I have Southwest Metro. Okay.
Yep, I can do that.
Good.
So you both will be able to be a curriculum then?
I will be.
Yep.
Yep, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
and that's all I had.
That's it.
So-
I don't have anything other than kudos to the tennis team, and good luck to
Yes.
the rest of the sports teams that are still hanging in there. And
Yeah.
I believe that state for the tennis girls is October 23rd at Reed Suite.
Yes.
And
Where is that?
Reed Suite, it's in
Minneapolis.
South Minneapolis.
I looked
off
at
of
it, yeah.
Nicollet.
Is it inside?
Yep, inside.
Okay.
It is inside. It's
Just-
fun.
Is it inside?
It is.
Mm-hmm. I think
I
they
wish I
have,
could
the
go.
next week and a half, 2 weeks, they have individual.
Yeah, I think it's Thursday, I
Mhm.
think is that Gustavus, I think
Yes,
is
yeah.
ours,
Mhm.
so.
So that's it? Anything else? Okay. Who wants to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
It's that chair. You just
Yeah.